Yeah. What's up, good people? And welcome to another episode of Keep It Thorough, where we give you the real behind business health, money, and self development, and introduce engaging concepts to help you perform better in all areas of life. I'm your host, Cedric Lavelle, joined by my counterpart, the man who needs no introduction, E Double.
Oh, you so
Hey, I'm
kind,
just I'm
Sid.
trying
You
trying to
so
spice it up
kind.
a little bit. You know what I'm saying? A little flair,
Yeah,
a
but
little
hey, it's your boy,
pizzazz.
your boy E Double, and we back at y'all for episode 91. Nine more, and then we at
Undone.
100, which I'm looking forward to that milestone. And the title of this episode is "Paying Back Dues." So, how to recover from credit struggles. Another money episode, money matters episode, and I think we got a good one lined up for y'all. So as always, be sure to check out the kit that corresponds to these episodes at keepitthorough.com/kits. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and podcast with us wherever you podcast. Right. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and kick this
Let's
thing
get
off. No pun intended. With this spin.
absolutely. So let's get to it, man. So here's the real. Navigating through the many challenges that come with credit struggles can feel insurmountable, right? And I think with each step that you take with trying to find a better financial space, in some instances it can feel like you're moving in sinking sand. You pay off something, another card may have interest, or you're looking at the principal of something else. And so it's almost as if you're taking one step forward only to take three or four steps back. And when it comes to credit struggles, that can definitely be a challenge. And it almost feels as if you're moving nowhere fast, right? And the clear skies that you're trying to see as it relates to just making things better for your situation, it just doesn't seem feasible. It seems challenging. And so obviously the reasons why people get into credit struggles and their financial woes, it can vary, but I think the ultimate goal for many people is just improvement. How can I improve? How can I improve in the area of credit? I've gotten to myself into a situation where I'm struggling, or things are overwhelming. How can I get to a place where I'm comfortable, right? And realizing that want, I believe, is not unattainable, but something that always has to be recognized. Is so many things that are going to be unavoidable, right? There's some things that you're going to have to realize that may have gotten you in this position that you have to change and that you have to correct. You know what I'm saying? And so with that being understood, once you recognize your areas of faults, and then you begin to create a path that can lead you forward, that's when you can start going through that recovery process of getting out of those credit struggles.
No, absolutely, man. And you mentioned there's like various different ways you can kind of fall into those struggles. So I kind of want to, touch on some of those things that can lead you to some of those struggles, right? So unwise credit management skills can quickly lead to those financial challenges that you're talking about, right? So just managing your credit. A lot of us, when we get our first credit card, we don't know much about
Yeah.
credit, right? And a lot of people treat those credit cards as supplemental income as opposed to, just using your credit card with the cash that you have and paying it off to build your credit. So that's really one of the very first mistakes many of us make when we're 18, 19, 20 years old. And then those pitfalls or challenges usually stem from various sources, right? So I just mentioned one with the credit cards, right? And that could also be classified as reckless spending. And then a dependency on credit, which just mentioned. And then no financial planning and ignoring the importance of financial literacy. Like a lot of us don't put a lot of thought and effort into that when we're young, and typically that's when we fall into our initial financial challenges, which compounds
Right.
over time,
Yeah.
right? But those pitfalls and challenges don't have to define your financial health for forever. So you gotta climb out of those pitfalls, and what that requires is for you to acknowledge the consequences of your mistakes, right? Like you have to acknowledge your poor or your poor money management skills, or your reckless spending, and all of those things. And then that awareness, right? Once you're able to acknowledge, the consequences of your mistakes, and you kind of treat those mistakes as lessons, that brings about some awareness that you can use as lessons, right? And growth points that can help you make better financial decisions. So it really comes down to one, acknowledging where you went wrong, right? And then two, looking at, okay, how can I improve where I went wrong? And then, creating a plan and putting it into action, and realizing the significance and importance of the actions that you take, because that is going to extremely affect the outcome. And some people, which I'll get into this a little bit in more detail a little later, but some people choose to just ignore their financial struggles as if they're just going to go away.
Yeah.
And then other people, they let it consume them, but not in a positive way, in a negative way, where they just have a very negative relationship with credit and money. Everything's a scam, whatever, nobody taught me, and like a victim mentality, and kind of all those different things. But as again, I'll get into that a little more later. But the purpose of this particular segment is really just to identify the pitfalls and recognize, how did you get in this place in the first place, right? How did I get in this situation, or in this financial pool of debt? You know what I'm saying? And then starting to form new habits and new views and a new mindset that can get you out of that.
That's big. And one thing that I would say, it's like the saying goes, when you know better, you do better. And it kind of goes to that conversation that we was having yesterday. And what we were saying, when you get around people who are moving in a certain direction, and they may be advancing in certain areas of their life, it's important to watch those people and see what they do, to see if that can apply to where you are and with your situation, right? And a lot of times when people are experiencing certain financial struggles, obviously, in many instances, it's you want to try to keep it private, or you don't want to be embarrassed, or you become prideful. But it's important to seek help, reach out to people, or even just be a fly on the wall in certain instances, and just kind of like pay attention and read the room type of thing, just to see if you can soak up game just off of a conversation. But 3 things that I know for sure that will kind of help you recover and put you in a position to really take steps forward would be, one, to budget and have some sort of financial planning, right? And like E was saying, a lot of these pitfalls that people fall into, a lot of it can be due to the lack of budgeting and financial planning. If you don't have a plan, you don't know what direction that you're moving towards. And so money is going to be coming in and going out. And before you know it, you have overspent. And now you're in a situation where it's even more challenging to get yourself out of it, right? The next thing would be just a debt repayment plan. And so a lot of times, whenever you're going through some financial struggles, it's important to communicate with your creditors and the people that you have your debts with, just to see what opportunities and options are there. And like he was saying just now too, like, don't just let the situation kind of just be there and expect for it to go away without addressing it in the proper way to see what opportunities are available to you. You have to communicate certain things with people just to kind of get a better understanding of what direction that you can go, what direction that you need to go. That way you can have a better outcome and the results can seem more favorable. And then the last thing is just building a healthy credit behavior. And a lot of times that can be the downfall to many people as well too, is just your credit behavior. What are you doing? Are you being mindful of what you're spending and how you're spending and what you're spending it on? You know, are you taking the necessary steps to pay off certain things? Are you paying attention to the dates? You know, are you paying attention to your credit limit, your interest rates, and all these different things? Are you getting credit cards for the right reasons? Like a lot of these things you have to ask yourself, and like E was just talking about with those pitfalls, you gotta acknowledge those things, and those things aren't avoidable. You have to get to the root of the issue and the root of the problem, and then just see what is necessary to get yourself out of that situation, and what do you have to change about yourself. You know, and those three things alone, I believe, would be the starting point to move you in the right direction. Because again, like I said earlier, ultimately the end goal is to improve, right? And improving is a continual process. You don't improve and then you just stop. It's progressive. You know what I'm saying? So once you make those strides forward, continue to elevate and continue to advance your situation, or you know, improve that situation rather, and see what ultimately can come in the end. You know what I'm saying? Because again, credit is one of those things that's it's ongoing. You can always work to improve it. You can work towards leveraging it, and when you start doing things in the right manner and in the right way, you can start seeing the benefits of credit and not think of it as something as negative or bad that you want to avoid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so you said something important there, said about when it kind of came to seeking advice or just being a fly on the wall. And you said, or the way I understood you was, you know, people don't necessarily want to share their credit struggles because of
Yeah.
embarrassment, right? So that's one thing that we want to touch on, and that I'm gonna address here. So the overcoming credit struggles is a very relatable
Yeah.
narrative. So many people are dealing with that, right? And I just had to, grab some stats for y'all right quick, which is what I was doing over here. But so the average American debt totals almost $60,000. So think about that. The average American debt totals about $60,000. So that just goes to show you the number of people that are
Yeah.
dealing with debt and then how much debt. So it's very relatable. So if you're seeking advice or having challenges, just know that there's a lot of other people dealing with the exact same thing. And then when it comes to so I wanted to touch on that specifically, and now I'm gonna kind of get off into a few other things. But so getting over that credit restoration hill can be very difficult, which is a reality for most people, which from the statistic I just gave you, you should see that. So having high debt, bill collectors constantly calling you, low credit scores, it's just not a good feeling. It's especially if you're wanting to buy a house or a new car, or you're getting married, or, you need to, use your credit for something, and it's just not a good feeling. It puts you in a very bad place, and causes you to have a negative relationship with money and credit. So now some people, to my point earlier, they're not bothered by this. Okay, cash is king. I don't care about credit. Forget credit. I know my credit messed up. I think Glorilla in one of her songs said something like, F credit, I got money. I might die tomorrow or something. I can't remember. I'm paraphrasing. I said her line all wrong. But, it was a very
Hey,
ignorant
you was the
statement,
first
though.
person that
Like, credit
introduced me to
matters.
Glorilla.
A long time ago, right? Yeah, when we was, and that's funny. That's funny. I can't even remember.
It was
The
the first
song.
song that I think that she came.
Twerking on the
I
hood
don't
or
know.
something,
Yeah.
or something. I can't remember. But yeah, no. She blew
She
up.
did,
She
bro.
blew up.
Because
Like big
I had
time.
no
Like
idea
big
who she
time.
was until you said something.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. But yeah, but in that song though, right? She made that comment. But credit is king. Don't never let nobody lie to you. Credit is king. That is where you have leverage. Now, depending on where you come from, where you grow up from, if you're from the hood or the streets, like we're taught cash is king. People like to flash their money and all these crazy things, and that's broke behavior. I'm gonna just tell you right now, that is not wealthy behavior. That is not a wealth mindset. You need to leverage credit and not spend your cash, right? But back to my point, some people aren't bothered. They just ignore it, think cash is king, and then there's other people who let it consume them, and then it has a negative impact on other areas of their life, and then they form like those negative views on credit and cash. Neither one of them are good, right? What you have to address the problem so that it doesn't compound. Because when you're young and you buy something, you let it go into collections, and then now it's gonna fall off in X amount of years. I'm actually gonna share something with y'all that I learned. I'm going a little off path here, but I'm gonna share something with y'all that I learned. Somebody told me when I was younger that you get an opportunity for credit a few times in your life, and when they told me that, I didn't understand what they meant. But what they meant by that was, okay, if you're 18, 19, 20 years old and you go crazy with credit cards, you rack up a lot of debt, stuff goes to collections, there's a time frame that's going to fall off. So now if you correct the behavior in your late 20s, early 30s, then those things will fall off and you can improve your credit with those new habits and just habits, the new habits that you have. And now say in your late 20s or 30s, you mess it up again. Then as you got that opportunity, another 7 years or whatever, those things, 5 years, those things start to fall off, and you now in your later 30s or whatever, and then you can, get another go at it. The problem is a lot of people mess up those second and third opportunities because what they do is they're reckless, and then 2 years, 3 years down the road might get a little improvement. They go do it again and do it again and do it again and do it again. So now for the next 30 years, you got something falling off your credit each year, but you got so much stuff there that it's almost impossible to, see above water. You literally drowning in debt, right? So you have to, stop, acknowledge your actions and the impact they have, like I mentioned earlier, on your financial well-being and make the necessary changes. Now, the key is to take authority, like I just said, and focus your energy on formulating a plan. So, create a well-structured budget, like Said mentioned, and then have disciplined spending habits. Negotiate with your creditors, like Said mentioned. And then these things will lead to better credit and financial success. But you have to be serious. And it's not easy to go from recklessly spending to, I got this budget now. Like maybe I shouldn't stop at the gas station and grab these chips and this soda. Maybe I shouldn't, order DoorDash tonight. Maybe I shouldn't, go on this trip. Like that's hard for some people, but it's worth it. And that those decisions compound over time in a positive way. So then, you build up, enough savings or whatever to invest. And then down the road, now you don't got to make those sacrifices because you made them. And then it pays off, right? And once that tree begins to bear fruit, as long as you water it, it's going to keep giving you fruit. So, you got to keep watering it, right? And, when it's just a little seed, it's hard to see that. But, you gotta make the sacrifices and it'll pay tenfold.
That makes perfect sense, bro. And then that also goes into one word that I think resonates with people who want to be high performers or high achievers, and that's discipline. Like discipline is like the underlying theme to all of that. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to budgeting, when it comes to not doing something that you've been doing for so long and being reckless, when it comes to making sacrifices, when it comes to telling yourself no when you don't need this, it's discipline. And if you're in a position where you're wanting to excel in life and you're wanting to grow in life, you have to understand that you can't move towards a desired destination if you don't have discipline. If you can't discipline yourself and learn how to tell yourself no or make a better decision as it relates to something that you're doing or something that you're wanting to achieve, you're never going to see success. It's going to always seem like an ongoing battle because you struggle at disciplining yourself in those moments when it's necessary for you to make a change.
And
right.
beneficial.
Absolutely.
when it's a necessary, beneficial change and you continue to not make it, can't point the finger
Yeah,
at
you
somebody
gotta
else.
start taking accountability for your own actions. You gotta start looking at yourself in the mirror and start asking yourself, like, okay, what am I not doing? You know what I'm saying? And that takes a lot of a lot of accountability, but also it makes you
I'm saying
strength
strength,
and your
willpower.
pridefulness. You put your pride aside,
Yeah.
and you stop blaming other people, and you start looking at your own situation and wanting to make those changes. You know what I'm saying? And in addition to that, one thing that I feel is necessary and important is you have to believe that better awaits before you can build towards a better way. If you believe that better awaits you, you can move yourself in a position where you're building towards a better way. Because in your heart of heart and deep down inside, you feel like there's an opportunity and there's a chance for things to be better and things to manifest and be prosperous. And I think once you can process that better is attainable, then you can start down the right path towards fixing things. And so in this instance, we're talking about credit, right? And so 5 things that you can do to pave a way to get you towards recovery within your credit struggles would be understanding your financial picture, right? So analyze your income, your expenses, your debt, and your assets, and get a clear picture of what your finances look like. You got to know what you have to know what you can use and leverage when you're going into fixing things. It's like you're going into war, right? You got to know what weapons that you have before you go into this war. That way you know what you can utilize and what's available and accessible to you to help you get victory. The next thing is just having a clear and realistic budget. And E said that, I said that as well too. You got to have a budget. You got to monitor your spending and create a budget that ensures that you live within your means while allocating funds towards debt repayment. A lot of people try to live outside their means, and we know that. We've seen that countless amounts of times. Live within your means, right? Then you also want to just commit to a debt repayment plan. So prioritize your debts and aim to make more than the minimum payment monthly. If it's feasible for you, do that, and then you can get yourself out of your situation much quicker. The next thing will be, like we said earlier, is negotiate with creditors. That's a big thing, and I believe that you don't know what you don't ask. So if you don't ask, you ain't gonna know. Once you ask the question, you can see what's available to you and what opportunities are there for you to fix your situation in that regard. Then the next thing is just develop develop healthy money habits. And we said that as well earlier too. Habits are a big thing. If you can't create good habits, you're going to continue to see yourself in financial failure. You got to have good money habits, good money behavior. And once you train yourself to make better financial decisions and avoid impulsive purchases and maintain discipline, then you can start seeing progress and moving yourself in the right areas as it relates to your credit recovery. There it is.
No, absolutely. And so before we hit y'all with this summary, I just want to hit y'all with some facts right quick on credit, since this is really a credit episode. And one thing to recognize is there's 5 things that affect your credit and your FICO score. And I would recommend y'all go back and watch some of our other episodes on credit if you need to better understand how your credit scores are calculated and things like that, because we've went into depth, if I can speak. We went into depth on that, right? So, but anyway, the 5 things is your payment history, which is 35% of your score. So that's, paying on time. Late payments significantly affect your score because 35% is the largest percentage of any of these towards your score. The second thing is amount owed, right? So that's your debt ratio, right? So if you have a credit card with a limit of $1,000 and you're using $500, you're using 50% of your credit. You want to be using 30% or less on your statement date. And we've went into statement dates and stuff before too. If you want some more information on that, go check out one of the episodes. And then the third thing is your length of credit history. So that's like how long you've had credit, like certain accounts, so your card for the longest amount of time. Once you start getting the 5, 6, 7 years that you've had certain cards and things like that, then that extends your credit, your length of credit history. And then, that's positive for you. Now, those three things account for 80% of your credit. That's your payment history, so paying on time. That's the amount that you owe, right? So the balance you're carrying on your cards. And then your length of credit history, right? So 35 plus 30 is 65, plus 15 is 80, right? And then the last two is credit mix. So that's, if you got credit cards, student loans, mortgages, auto loans, those are all different types of credit, right? And things like loans and homes weigh heavier, which is also why it's harder to get approved for those things. It's a lot easier to get approved for a little $1,000 credit card from Capital One, and way harder to get approved for a $250,000 mortgage, right? That's why, right? Because it's all about risk, right? The financial institutions taking risk. And then the last thing is your new credit. And basically that can be boiled down to inquiries, right? So those two, that 20%, it affects you, but not as much as those other things. But if your credit is low, then those things affect you as well, and can make the difference between you having a 580 and a 620, right? So don't just be applying for credit just to see if you can get it. That's the worst thing the worst thing that I hear anybody say when it comes to credit. Oh, I just applied to see if I would get approved.
Yeah. Why?
Like, no. No. That is not good financial planning. That is not good credit planning. You're taking unnecessary hits for no reason, just
Bad
to see,
behavior.
right? So I think it's important to kind of outline that, especially on a credit episode. But with all that being said, getting out of debt is not easy, but it is possible. And that's what you have to know and what you have to tell yourself. And ignoring your challenges will only allow them to compound, like we spoke about earlier, and it'll just make things worse for you in the future. Because once you get older and you start to realize, like, damn, I do need credit to start this business or buy this house or, whatever the case may be. And then you have to embrace the lessons in your past mistakes and allow that to reshape your financial behavior, which we already talked about. And then this will lead to, credit recovery. It'll remove a lot of pressure and unnecessary stress in your life. And then it's important for us to have a positive relationship with our money. And we've said this a million times. Money is a tool and not just a thing to pay for stuff. And you have to realize that and understand that. Money is a tool. Credit is a means of measuring your financial worthiness, right? Your payback worthiness. It's a way of looking and being like, oh, okay, he ain't really good at paying back.
Right.
So why would I loan you money if I know you're not going to pay me back? That, it just doesn't make sense. If I know this guy over here pays me back before the due date every time, I'm going to be more likely to not only lend him money, but if he wants to lend more next time, I'm going to be more likely to do it because he has a good track record. If people loan money to you all the time and you either don't pay them back or always late, they're not going to want to lend you money, and the easiest way to think about credit scores. So very important. You got anything you want to add, Sid?
Nah, man. That was it, bro. I think that summed it all up right there.
Well, hey, this is a topic that we're pretty knowledgeable on. We've done quite a few episodes on credit, and I'm sure we'll do a lot more because a very, very important topic. And, when it comes to financial literacy, a lot of this stuff isn't really talked about as much as it should be. But with all that said, man, we greatly appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, listen, watch, stream, download.
Tell your friend.
Tell your friend to tell a friend to tell a friend and tell another friend
tell your mom and
again.
them. You know what I'm saying?
Your mom and them, G mom and them, uncle, cousin
grandma.
them. Your sister-in-law, your cousin twice
All of them.
removed from your uncle Leroy, all that.
I'm saying, let them know what's up.
But but we greatly appreciate y'all. Be sure to check out the kit that corresponds with this episode on the website at keepitthorough.com/kits. And y'all know how it go. If you don't do nothing else, keep it thorough. And we'll holler at y'all next time. Deuces.